Eldritch horror, cosmic horror, Lovecraftian horror, whatever you want to call it, I love it. But for the longest time I didn't know I loved it. Sure, I'd heard of H.P. Lovecraft, that racist sod, and I was vaguely familiar with Cthulhu and the Necronomicon and the general aesthetic of creepy tentacled things and unknowable gods. But the concept of what makes Eldritch horror truly unsettling hadn't quite cemented in my mind until I stumbled upon Quiet Part Loud, a horror podcast from Gimlet Media and Monkey Paw Productions. That was my gateway drug. The show kicks off with a sinister reawakening. An entity, once dormant, begins to stir and grow stronger. From the jump, the tone is heavy, unsettling, and full of dread. But the true horror doesn't just lie in the supernatural, it lies in the actions of Rick Egan, our deeply flawed protagonist. He's a washed-up right-wing radio host, the kind of guy who peddles conspiracy theories and spews Islamophobic rhetoric without remorse. He's toxic to everyone around him, including his own fans, who he casually refers to as the dregs of society. The only person he seems capable of loving is his daughter Becca. When he hears that 3 young Muslim teens have gone missing after the events of 9/11, Yusuf and Hassan Lakhani and Khalil Hakim, he doesn't ask where they were last seen, he doesn't talk to their families, he immediately jumps to accusing them of being terrorists. He even dubs them the Staten Island 3, a twisted callback to the real-world case of the exonerated 5, insisting that some sort of sleeper cell in Staten Island has a target on his back, which in turn fans the flames of Islamophobic sentiment all throughout the island. It's chilling because it's believable, and that's the horror before the monster even shows up. What follows is a descent not just into the world of the supernatural, but into the rot and the heart of America post 9/11 paranoia. The entity in Quiet Part Loud is terrifying. It begins as a whisper, subtle and invasive. The once it's in your head, it's in there, and it begins to grow. The vocal performances are impressive as well. And when the entity speaks, it's this inhuman voice that changes in tone and texture, adding to its horrifyingly unknowable nature. One scene that stuck with me, the entity plays a recording of young Becca to Rick as a threat. At the time, you don't even know that it could do something like that. So when I heard her tiny little voice on the speaker, I felt that moment. The vulnerability, the manipulation, the raw fear, it was one of many yikes moments that lingered long after listening. Thematically, the show nails the core of Eldritch horror. It's not just about creepy monsters or tentacles in the dark. It's about the unknowable, the way familiar things suddenly twist into something uncanny and malicious. Audio, as a medium, amplifies this effect. You can't see the monster, so your imagination has to do the work. You're left to fill in the gaps, and that's where the real horror lives. Quiet Part Loud is a Spotify original, which is unfortunate, but trust me, it's worth seeking out. The horror in the story is fiction. The monster isn't real, but the hate that fed it, the violence that real people faced after 9/11, that horror was and still is very real. There's no shadowy entity to blame, just us. And that's what makes Quiet Part Loud such an unforgettable introduction to Eldritch horror for me. If you like this dive into Quiet Part Loud and the horrors that whisper behind the headlines, I've got more for you. Check out my original short film. It's got demons, dystopia, and more than a few Eldritch nods. You can watch it free and pick up the soundtrack or any of my music directly from my website. Link in the description. Support indie horror, support indie music. That's all from me. Peace.